In this video series, we look at JDs, job descriptions, and some of the keywords you guys, technical recruiters, may still not understand, such as this one, Git. Do you guys know what Git is? If not, let me explain it briefly right now. Git is a version control system. Version control system. But what does it mean? To explain it, let me get back to say 15 years ago, where two developers worked in one company, developer 1 and developer 2, and they worked with some code, with some software code. Say developer 1, he worked at home, and the developer 2 worked at the office, as an example, okay, to make it easier. So the developer 1 at some point had to download the code from some repository, from some server, or from the company's, whatever folder. He downloaded the code, and so this is some folder, say on a server. He downloaded the code, he made some changes, and after these 2-3 days work at home, he had to send the code back to the same folder where he took it from, right? It could be on a server. And the developer 2 working at the office, he was working every day, and he was also supposed to send the code back to the server. Now imagine what kind of clashes there were. And I remember this myself. This was way too common, where one developer overwrote the changes of another developer. That was very, very annoying, because a developer was working the whole day only to figure out that someone else rewrote some of the changes he made in a code. That was really, really annoying. So a folder is a set of files, and the files developer write are text files. So a text file can be just overwritten. Sometimes you don't see a little change here and there, maybe a dot or a semicolon could be easily misinterpreted or missed completely. So these were the clashes, and it was so inefficient that someone came with an idea like, hey, we need to make this better. At first there was subversion system, and then pretty much replaced by Git. Now Git is a mainstream standard, everyone uses Git. And to explain it briefly, what it does is, it's still version control system, but what does it really mean? So you have a master. A master is the main version. Same as here, you had a folder. So whatever is in the folder, that's a master, especially at the beginning. And then also continuously, you define what is the master. Well, they call it master. You have this master version in time. Say this is a timeline. So on day 1, you define, hey, this is the initial version of the code. This will be the master version, the core version, you could say. And then the developer 1 comes and say, this could be day 0, this could be day 1, day 2, day 3, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, okay? So day 0, you define, this is going to be the master, the code we have. On day 1, a developer 1 and 2 come and download the code. They start working in parallel. One is at home, the other is at the office. And what do they do is they commit. I'll write it here. They need to commit. Usually developers commit any change on a daily basis, or even more frequently. Developers are supposed to commit as soon as some bug or some feature is done. So they commit the code. An alternative could be, save. Also, they still save files, but they need to commit, which means I'm trying to find an alternative in a non-tech world. It could be save the whole project, because a project could have multiple files. So developers obviously save files. Even there is autosave in IDEs, so they autosave on always. But then after say at the end of the day, after the functionality is finished, they commit, they send it back to the cloud repository, to the version system. So they commit and push the code. Say, they work in their own so-called branch. So every developer has his or her own branch. They commit to their own branch. So this is branch, and also this is branch. And also the master is branch. They commit in their own branches, and then at some point they merge their whole changes back to master. This means, hey, we need to merge back to master. So here they merge back to master. And also developer 2 merges back to master. And then he also pulls the changes. Now, if he pulls the changes from master, then it also includes the changes of the developer 1. I hope this is clear. So here, developer 2 pulls everything from master, works on his code. Again, he commits. Again, he commits. Day 3, day 4, day 5, he commits, and then he pushes everything he worked on to master. But meanwhile, the developer 1 also worked on some features, maybe some bug or some new feature. He pushed to master. So now the master, at this point, the master includes also everything from the developer 1. So here, as soon as the developer 2 pulls the code from master, then he's pulling also the changes that include work of the developer 1 and the developer 2. So now here you can see that this includes the changes of developer 1 and developer 2. And then he pushes it again back to master. Okay, so this is very simplified version. I try to avoid these branches and commits as much as I can, and I find alternatives from non-tech world, but at some point you need to know these keywords, especially commit, branch, master, and Git obviously is the keyword here. So what you need to know is that Git is the standard these days in software development. Subversion is not really used too much because Git is so much better and it's open source. So why not to use the better version available, right? As you can see here in this application development analyst job description, they are looking for someone who has experience working with one or more of the following tools: Subversion, Jenkins, Git. And now, look, Subversion and Git are alternatives, so you can use either Subversion or Git. But Jenkins is a completely different tool. Jenkins has nothing to do with Git or Subversion. So it's interesting that these three tools are mixed together, even though it looks like you should use one of them, but they are completely different. I mean, Git and SVN, Subversion, are on the same level. Their functionality is not the same, but the reasons why developers use them is the same. They are code version systems, but Jenkins is completely different. We talk about Jenkins in another video, so stay tuned for more. So this is at this point what you need to know about Git. I strongly encourage you guys to comment below this video if this is not clear, and certainly go ahead and read some articles about Git online, also GitHub, GitLab. This is something we cover at the Git Recruiter Academy. So with that, I'll wrap it up. I would like you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can learn more about how to hire developers with confidence.